in the morning, but we're getting ready to stretch. We're joined by Jim Cardinale. He is you call yourself a yoga teacher?
Yoga instructor, yes.
And there are different kinds of yoga. You teach a certain kind. Tell us about the name of that and why.
It's Ashtanga yoga, and it's quite old. It's about 1,500 years old, from what is called the Cardinale Sutra. And the primary series, which I teach, consists of 72 postures. They're done in a logical sequence. So it's about an 11-year process for one who's, very interested in it. I teach at various locations throughout the city. And this is written in what I said, the Cardinale Sutra, but it's written by, it was found in the 1930s at the University of Calcutta by some scholars, and they went ahead and put it forth, and it's come down to us.
And now it's big stuff. Now, can you show us a posture, or like one, or how do you start people usually?
Well, we usually begin with the sun salutations. They consist of 9 very classical postures, and they in of themselves are an entire yogic workout. So if you're interested in yoga, you can just go ahead and begin with these. You like a demonstration?
Sure,
Want a demonstration?
Yeah,
They're done in a sequence, which is called vinyasa. It means a flowing sequence. And like from the roots of the toes to the stem of the brain, every part of you would be stretched and toned, internal organs as well as muscles, glands, etc. So we would begin like this. This would be the first one. And we move with the breath. We always paying attention to the breath. The head drops as far as you can, looking up.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
This is the 5th, 6th. This is held for approximately 20 seconds, as most postures are, to affect change at the molecular level, the joints, tendons, ligaments, etc.
All right.
Jim, are you going to be able to stay around with us for a little while?
Yes.
And we'll check in. We'll get a few more stretches.
Are we running out of time?
Yeah, we're out of time in this segment, but we do want to come back and get a little bit more. We'll be right back. Your top stories are next, and Jim will be back in a bit.
The vehicle of the breath. So some people do. One student her mother had recently passed away, and she was at the class. And it's usually in the forward bends I noticed that this happens. This comes about, and she began to weep. I had to leave. It's happened a few times. It is transforming. It is. It comes with practice. It's an intuitive connection. It's nothing that could be verbalized, really. It's a very intuitive connection, and you begin to feel it and sense it as you practice. We call it yoga practice. We're always practicing. We never assume that you're doing the posture correctly, so therefore anyone, any shape, size, weight, age, etc., can practice using the variations to the postures.
Well, right along those lines, it was very surprising to me when we first introduced yoga to the gym. I mean, I call that gym the Rocky Gym, because we don't have, like, the state-of-the-art equipment there. We have old equipment. We have, free weights and really hard equipment. And people that normally are hardcore runners or hardcore bodybuilders are in that yoga class, and they love it.
I was going to ask you, in terms of fitness, does somebody have to be fit before they can embark on taking a yoga class, or can somebody weigh 270 pounds and hasn't picked up a weight in 17 years?
Well, I've noticed all shapes and sizes in the yoga class. Okay. And I have to commend you, too, because of all the classes from Taibo, aerobics galore, that is the one class where students are loyal. I mean, you guys they even come on their days off to the yoga class, and we've never had that in any aerobic class. They're just dedicated students.
It's almost like you develop a need
right.
Once you get into it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's kind of funny because we can see the yoga class from the side that we're on. We're doing the cardio and the treadmills and the stair stepper, and we're sweating up a storm, and we look over at the yoga class, and they all look better than we do. I mean, they really do. They all look in great shape, and we're kind of wondering maybe we're doing something wrong. They're doing something right.
Yeah, I know that the poses can facilitate, a leaner, stronger body, even though you're not all over the place. It's calm. It's not like what you're talking about.
Well, this Ashtanga method is quite cardiovascular. And you'll see in the demonstration that it is from, and we like to describe it as when we do these sun salutations, Surya Namaskara A, the first of them, there are 9 classical postures woven in a sequence. This is called vinyasa. We use a lot of Sanskrit terms, and it's a very traditional style of yoga. And from the stem of the brain to the roots of the toes, the cardiovascular, intestines, everything, uterus, kidneys, spleen, it's all tone stretched. And when you stretch an organ, blood rushes in, it becomes gorged with blood, it brings hydration, nutrition.
You can stretch your organs.
You turn your spine, when you do twisting postures, you'll turn, you twist.
So it's not just muscles. Well,
No,
and earlier,
inside out.
we were talking about our friend, the colon.
The colon.
The colon.
Yeah,
So if you'd like
Your colon.
you
I have
know,
a colon.
most people don't talk about this, but this is really, this is very important to health.
Okay, so this is the colon, and here would be 22, 23 feet of intestines all curled. So and this is just what's happening to other organs as well. When you twist and turn these organs, as we do in the twisting postures, there are various stages of postures. Some are standing and inverted, and some are forward bends, and some are turning and twisting, and etc. So you turn, you twist the organ along with all the other organs on the pelvic girdle. And as they
Liver,
twist and turn,
kidneys,
everything there.
spleen, pancreas.
Right, all there. And as you turn and you invert, you stretch them against gravity, where typically they lie prolapse on the pelvic floor. When you do an inversion, which you'll see, they'll come forward and stretch in the fascia that they set in. And this brings blood and hydration. With blood comes hydration,
I
nutrition.
was going to say, what's the advantage of all this moving around? And it's to be oxygenated and
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly, and you feel that. As a matter of fact, usually after some beginners, after practice, you'll notice there's accumulation of toxins at the back of the tongue, and the tongue is the beginning of the intestinal tract, and it ends somewhere around here. So at the end of the practice, you find this film, and where it's recommended to go ahead and scrape your tongue with a spoon, drink some water, because of these toxins that are getting or are released from the organs, internal organs.
Yeah, he always tells us scrape our tongue. I've taken the class. I had to see what it was all about.
With the lymph nodes, the lymphatic
Yeah.
system is stimulated. It doesn't have a heart to pump it, the circulation of the lymphatics, the sewer system. So therefore, when you invert and when you stretch, that stimulates that circulation. That's what yoga does. So it's a cleansing as well. So it's internal,
Yes.
out. You build muscularity, flexibility. However, that's the byproduct. We're losing sight of it, though. Yoga is a discipline of meditation, so we create each posture as an object of meditation. So it's a mental discipline before anything else. So
And
let's not get ahead of ourselves.
I'm sitting here thinking, why aren't we teaching this to our children in kindergarten?
Good question.
Wow. Speaking of children, let me ask you this. Is yoga safe to do if you're pregnant?
Well, I certainly think it is. I'm 2 months pregnant myself right now, and so yeah, it's a very happy time to be doing
with
yoga.
child.
With
Yeah.
Congratulations. That's wonderful.
Yeah, so I mean, pregnancy is a time that you really want to be in tune with what's happening in your body. There are a lot of changes going on, and for me, yoga has been a great path to stay on during this time.
That's great.
I will say, for pregnant women, a lot of times your doctor will advise you not to take on new physical activities or things that are extremely strenuous. So, if you haven't ever done a handstand before in your life, pregnancy is not the time to start. But that said, there are plenty of prenatal yoga classes that are for first-time students, and I think a lot of soon-to-be mothers find it very, very beneficial and relaxing, which we all need during this time. So,
Well, I know you're getting ready to get on the floor and show us some of your stuff. But I want to ask you, why do you have your bare feet on?
that's a good question. I personally find it very difficult to balance if I have socks, or particularly with shoes. You can't feel the floor beneath you, literally, and that just brings about a lot of problems with the stability of the postures, which everything from the feet moves up. You start having problems with your knees or your hips or your back, and a lot of it stems from the way we stand on our feet. And for me, standing barefoot is the healthiest way to find my posture.
Excellent.
So,
Are you ready to show us some of your moves?
Certainly. Yeah.
Okay, good. And Jimmy, you're going to go ahead and tell the audience what she's doing, right?
Yes, well, we're going to begin with the foundation of the practice, and this is called Surya Namaskara. It means the...
That's easy for you to say.
It is. It's called, I can see it because I'm from Brooklyn.
Yeah.
So Surya Namaskara is the first salutation to the sun. And what it's going to consist of is 9 postures. They are classical postures, very old. And again, like I mentioned earlier, from the roots of the toes, the roots of the fingers to the stem of the brain, and a complete cardiovascular workout, a complete stretching. But what is most important is synchronizing the breath with the movement so that the attention is brought to the present. And that's the meditative aspect of it. So what they call vritti, this chatter in our minds that constantly takes us out of our heads and out of the present to various degrees, is stabilized within the context of the posture by synchronizing breath and movement with one's attention.
Wonderful.
So this is what you'll see Erin do. So shall we go ahead and we'll begin in the first posture called samastitihi, which means equal standing. Now there's an expression and it comes from the ancient texts, the Upanishads. It says as below so above. So we become stable in the feet and we become stable perhaps in the mind. So that she's standing, her ankles and big toes together, the thighs are rotating inward, the sternum lifting, long in the neck, and this is the foundation to the practice. This is where we stabilize, we come to the breath. So this enhances and we establish our breathing, which is called mula bandha, which is root lock. So when she inhales, the air goes just behind the pubic bone, that hollow point. She'll stretch up, and now she's going to exhale and folding at the groins to compress the lymph nodes there. She drops her head. Now, it doesn't matter. You don't have to come this far down.
Wow.
The lower back is extending, and from the brain stem is stretching, so the pituitary glands. And now she'll come back to what is called chaturanga, and this is the plank posture. She comes down now with a half push-up. Now, notice how she rolls over the feet. So here... the Achilles heel compresses as well as the lumbar spine. She's pressing the shoulders in, so this is building muscular strength as well as flexibility, and the spine curves. And now the spine is the counterpose to what she's just done. This is called Adho Mukha Svanasana, the downward facing dog. So the sitting bones rise. We say the sitting bones rise without a reservation. So the lumbar spine elongates. And here the blood flows to the brain, the oxygenated blood when she's breathing deep, Mula Bandha. The exhale, the navel goes towards the spine, and she creates an aspirate sound in the throat called Ujjayi. The heels work their way towards the floor to stretch the Achilles heel, whereas before we compressed it. The armpits open, so the lymphatic fluids flow, the blood's flowing. This is a reverse of being... this is being upside down, actually. So the head is lower than the heart.
My back feels better just looking at her.
It's wonderful. And again, at very stage. Now she's going to come up. I'm not counting the postures, but trust me, there are 9 here. Okay. She's looking up at between the eyes. This is called Ajna. You know, where the Hindu woman wears the red dot, this stretches the thyroid gland.
Oh.
Then she's coming back up to Uttanasana and back to Samastiti. We always come back to this posture. We don't get sloppy. We're always poised and attentive. So that was, would you do it now just with following your breath in the Vinyasa series? So this is how it's done when it's seamless flow. You hear the breath.
Yeah.
Mm.
So she remained for 20 seconds in the down dog. We stay in 20 seconds to effect change.
It's beautiful.
Right.
The motion is just flawless.
I don't look like that when I do that.
Yes, you do. We check 20 seconds will affect change at the molecular level of the joints and the tendons and ligaments. So that's why our postures held at least that long.
Yeah, how could your body not be having a giant celebration
Yeah,
going through this?
And you know what is so good about this class, unlike any other class I've been involved with, there's no competition. You know, everybody is to their own. You know, if you can't, Erin can really, she's got a lot of flexibility, but there's folks in the class that are barely doing anything,
Very nice.
anything close to that, and they're still just loving it.
Yeah.
Okay, are you going to show us something really dramatic, like what you can do after you've been doing this for like 10 years? How many years have you been doing this?
About 5.
About 5 years. Okay. Yeah, I want to see like how amazing you can get if you do this long enough.
Okay, well, my favorite are back bends.
Back bend. Oh, Lord, help us. Okay, back bend. All right. 2 months pregnant. Are you going to be able to keep doing this when you're 6 months pregnant?
Well, we'll see.
We'll see. We'll see. Okay. Wow.
What is this one, Jimmy, for?
This is this is a Langu Vadrasana, and that's the small lightning bolt. And now she's coming into Kapotasana,
Look at that.
which is the
Gosh.
pigeon.
It's
Now see how it's stretching the belly and the
Right.
internal organs, and also the
Yes.
spine is rotating. I should do a counter pose
And our friend the
to that.
colon.
And indeed the colon, to increase the dispelling nature. Colon. And this is Balasana. This is the child's pose, and this is the counter to that. So here the fluids of the body go back to their normal circulation, and the spine elongates and realigns as well.
You said people have been doing this a long time. How long have people been doing this? Hundreds of years?
Oh
a
no,
thousand years?
it's thousands of years. Yeah, there's some.
Thousands?
Yes, there are some carbon dated statues from India dated back to 3,000 to 4,000 years, in Padmasana.
wow.
Oh, wow. Oh, my. Aaron, you are so impressive.
And what's this one helping?
This is split. I don't know the Sanskrit name to that.
Did you do this when you were a cheerleader?
Hanumanasana.
There it is, Hanumanasana.
When I was a cheerleader, I could do that. It was just a couple years ago. Right.
And you notice the gaze. The gaze is extremely important in all postures because this focuses our attention. And that assists with creating the posture as an object of meditation, distinguishing this from calisthenics or contortionism,
Uh-huh.
which is fine in and of itself, but there is a
Oh,
difference.
my. Amazing.
And this one, Jimmy?
Variation of pigeon. What is this?
Wow.
You have to wait until she's
Isn't it amazing to think that your body is capable of
doing
doing
third
this?
series stuff.
Third
so,
series. Okay. And you said there's how many postures? I think you're always reminding us.
No, well, there are hundreds of thousands of
Oh,
postures because
wow.
there are everything that she's doing here that looks difficult, and we don't want to discourage the audience.
No, we're trying to impress everybody.
But there are variations, and naturally that's mostly what we teach, the variations. And each variation in of itself is a posture. So there are hundreds of thousands of postures.
This is one you do, Jimmy. I've noticed this one in the class.
Well, this is in the first series.
The first series.
Well, I don't know what you're about to
okay.
do. Go ahead. Go ahead. So this would be, this is Bhujapidasana, the squeezing of the shoulders, or Titibandhasana, the insect pose.
Julia, you can do that, can't you?
Give me a couple of months.
This is Titibandhasana,
Wow.
the insect posture.
But now this is where I tell people, there is strength involved, and so when somebody sees it, like your strength.
Whoa.
People that are into strength just don't see yoga as something that would help improve muscle. And I after they've taken, we've had police officers and firefighters in the class now, and boy, they are sold on the strength involved.
Well, you get strength, but not only strength, you get elongated tone, the flexible muscles. Like we compare them to the muscles of a chimpanzee. A chimpanzee doesn't have the bulk, but yet he can tear your arm off if he becomes angry with you with one
That's true.
tug. So it is a different kind of muscle. But it's certainly there.
Check this out.
Oh my gosh. I think I just need a couple practices to do that one.
You're right.
Aaron, you're amazing.
Wow. God, that is great.
Yay.
Gosh.
Wow. How do you feel?
Oh, good.
Good. Just put a mic-
Oh, yeah. Go ahead and slip that mic back on. How much time do we have, fellas? How are we doing? Got 5 minutes? Good. Okay, well, that was something else. No wonder your organs are like, we love yoga. We love yoga. I mean, sitting at a desk or even taking a walk or working out with weights or on the Nordic track or whatever, it doesn't rearrange the body like this. right?
The cardiovascular, you can hear how she's breathing out the lungs, especially when you work the legs, the largest muscles, the lungs are really stretching. You feel like you ran 3 miles and you haven't left the mat. Now, there are softer forms of yoga. And as we get back into more, as yoga has become very popular, we've gone back to some of the traditional styles have come to the forefront, and this is one of them, and this is why it is very rigorous.
Yeah, I know that as personally as taking it myself, and I'm not taking it as often as some of the folks in the class have, some of the employees, but the next day I felt muscles.
I feel like a noodle.
Oh my gosh! The next day I felt muscles I had never felt before, and I'm.
You know, there's one group, if we have a time, I just like this group
Yes.
of muscles here, these internal muscles, they're not aesthetic, the psoas muscles, they connect the hips to the spine and the femurs as well. So they are the muscles of posture, but because they're not aesthetic, they usually aren't addressed when we work out. So I'm not saying we shouldn't work out, of course, but these muscles, that's why some people that look extremely well have difficulty bending down to tie their shoes. These internal muscles aren't addressed. And in yoga, as I mentioned, from the inside out, you're toned and stretched and worked. From the roots of the toes to the stem of the brain, it's all inclusive.
Plus, this is something you can do even when you're not in class, right?
Whether in the Tijuana jail cell or the Hyatt's penthouse, all you need is 8x5 area.
Something I think we all as teachers try to encourage our students is to develop their own practice and to do it at home and not rely always on a teacher, because in the end it's about empowering the student to give the gift to themselves.
I think you mentioned too something, Jimmy, that I thought was really interesting. Something about how yoga helps with Alzheimer's. Or
There are some. I know we want to be. Be careful. There are some therapeutic claims that are a bit exaggerated about yoga, but it does bring oxygenated blood when you invert, like when her head was down, or you do handstands or headstands, and this oxygenated blood, when you are breathing correctly, coming to the ventricles of the brain or feeding the brain, it's incredible, and it does make one a little bit more alert. Should I say? And just the regular breathing, the correct pranayama breathing, bringing this blood, the amount of blood to the brain and the quality of the blood, the circulation. Because typically we breathe we're collapsed, we sniff our air, we're like this all day with curved spines. In yoga, the sternum's lifting, the chest wide, we breathe into the lower belly. The breath doesn't go there, the air, of course, but we ensure that we're filling the bottom of the lungs up so that we're filling full volume, full capacity.
And I just want to reiterate something that Jimmy said earlier about yoga being for anyone. I mean, you don't have to be extremely flexible or extremely strong to reap the benefits from yoga. As far as the therapeutic aspects, they're just some very simple prescriptions, like forward bends help with insomnia or restlessness. Backward bends tend to help with depression or sluggishness. So you don't have to do anything extremely intense to get those benefits. You can just, a slight opening will bring more air into your lungs and just a greater feeling of well-being.
Well, I have a comment. That's the luckiest baby in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Your baby is very lucky to have you as a mom. You're going to be great.
Oh, thanks very much.
And I could just kind of see in my mind, it's like already going, I feel good, I feel good. Well, we only have a couple of minutes. So, final words of wisdom.
Well, gosh, I would say try
This show's not rehearsed, is it?
Yeah, obviously not. No scripts. I would say, whoever you are, wherever you're at, you can try yoga. And I don't know, just be open to what's available without judging yourself, about how flexible you are, or what you can't do, and just appreciate what you do have. And I think that's the real key.
How many times do you do it a week?
It varies.
Does it matter?
Sometimes I usually try to do 6 days a week, but for some folks it's not possible. You don't have to do 2 hours at a time. You can do 20 minutes and you still get the benefits. So, yeah.
Okay, just get started, would you?
That's right.
Right. Okay, and we are going to flash on the screen some phone numbers too. So if people have questions, they can call you?
Certainly.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you. You are
Thanks
wonderful.
so much, Julia.
Jimmy?
Take a yoga class and like Aaron said, practice. It's a personal development. So we go to yoga classes and we learn some of the postures and we learn some of the techniques and discipline and the history, etc. But the idea is to develop your own personal practice. It's something that you keep with you everywhere at any time in your life. You always have it. It's therapeutic, extremely therapeutic. And practice, and always be content wherever you are in the posture. If you can't touch your toes, it doesn't matter. It's not about that. It's about initiative, enthusiasm. That's all.
And for me,
wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And if people have questions for you,
please call.
Please call. Flash that number up.
And
wonderful.
In case you think that it's something that is only for the meek, and for people who like myself, that Rocky gyms.
The meek? How could you say that after 3
I know.
minutes?
And, Jimmy didn't know I brought this, but this is Jimmy, everybody. He was a former Marine. And so if that doesn't get you to want to try this, this is Jimmy. Anyway, I'm totally for it. I'm so happy that we've got yoga in our program, and the employees just love it. They enjoy it so much. Thank you for being part of our program.
Thank you, Annette.
Thanks, Annette.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, as usual.
Thank you, Julia.
See you back at the office.
Okay.
Well, you saw it here, folks. And if you have any questions, you can always call us, too, at 768-4613. And I think that this demonstration and this program speaks for itself in terms of to be happy and to be well. Yoga can be an important part of your life and your lifestyle. Until next time, this is Dr. Julia Bain. Be happy and be well.
This has been Employee Health
Flexibility.
Okay, to elongate the spine, to create flexibility in the back, hamstrings, inner thighs. Again, this is an all-inclusive practice, so somewhere along the line within these postures, everything will be addressed. This is the Paschimottanasana, the forward intense western stretch. It doesn't matter how flexible you are, whether this is a meditative discipline, so this differentiates it from calisthenics or contortionism, and it's this attention manifesting each posture as an object of meditation. So we kind of like plug in to what you're doing.
Mind and body.
Exactly.
Okay.
And yoga means to connect. Yoke, from the Sanskrit word uji, to connect the mind to the body through the vehicle of the breath. So regardless of whether you're here or whether you're here, you're still, as long as you're contemplating your attention on the breath and the gaze, you're manifesting the posture as an object of meditation. So Ashtanga means 8 limbs. The 7th is, for instance, the 6th is called Dhyana, and in Japanese that's Zen. So it's pretty much very similar. So this is the forward bend, and this will elongate the lumbar and decompress the spine. As you elevate the kneecaps and roll the thighs inward, the SI joints turn in, the synovial fluids there begin to flow, and you can see it's an intense stretch. The gaze here is what is called Padagarai Drishti, the gaze at the toe. So we don't drop the head. This is the mind wanders, you go to sleep, you daydream. Now the counterpose to this would be Purvottanasana. We will drop the head, and so now the spine, we raise the tail, and so the spine arches in another direction. So this constant movement of the spine and muscles and legs and toning, this makes the spine after a time very flexible.
And one kind of complements the other. You did the forward bend, then you did the reverse of that, and that's all for the flexibility as well.
That's right, and that's the logical sequence, and it's in many forms of yoga, and especially in this Ashtanga where we adhere to that sequence. Those in the primary series, 72 postures, but there are like 4 or 5 series, so that it's a lifetime endeavor.
And you were saying it takes a full 11 years or 9 years
to really... They say to really become very proficient if you practice an hour and a half a day in this primary series of Ashtanga Yoga. You kind of grow and mature into this process. So, I mean, but then don't let me discourage anyone. I mean, you go as far as you can at any point. You're always practicing yoga. It's always called yoga practice. So you're constantly practicing. There's no such thing as a perfect posture. So no matter how flexible you are or aren't, there's a saying, blessed are the tight ones, because it is they who reap the benefits immediately from yoga.
Well, I'd be reaping big benefits.
A lot of people say, well, I can't do yoga because I'm not flexible. Well, that's not the point. You know, I mean, if you're not the least flexible, people who are very flexible people first come to a yoga class, they're very difficult to teach because they haven't got that connection. You know, they're double jointed.
Jim, we're totally out, but we appreciate you coming. Liking these caramelized nuts. Sorry about that.
Jim is an Ashtanga yoga teacher. He was showing us some flex moves a little earlier, some of the reasons why people do this. You're going to show us some spinal twists now?
Yes.
And what is the benefit of these?
Well, it'll twist the spine, making it, again, supple, flexible, and tones the inner organs because you're turning with these twists, and your intestines, spleen, kidneys, stomach, uterus, everything you've got in there on the pelvic floor begins to stretch and tone.
And that's good, right?
Yeah, it's good because what happens when you do that, you stretch an organ, think of it as a sponge as well. It releases toxins, and then you're breathing correctly. The oxygenated blood is feeding these organs. So it's a cleansing and a toning inside outward. So it's not only just superficial muscles that are built in yoga, it's an internal thing. So the spinal twist is the first one of them anyway is called Adha Matsyendrasana, which means the half lord of the fish. Now there are variations so that anyone, and usually in a yoga class you could teach different levels because you show the variations to a posture. So with this posture we'll bring the left heel back into the right buttocks and take the right foot in front and cross over the knee. We lift the sternum and get the posture and take the left elbow outside the knee and use this arm to knee opposition to press to turn the spine. In the sitting posture, we want to turn at the thoracic spine. So we're turning the upper chest and opening up the lungs. Now, if you can go deeper then, the second variation will be to clasp the ankle, keeping that stretch in the arm, and then take the right hand out and clasp it in the inner thigh. And with every exhale, we move with the integrity of the breath. So following the breath, each exhale will take you deeper into the posture.
Wow. That looks like a very good stretch.
It's wonderful. It's really wonderful. You feel like a noodle when you get done.
But your inner organs are all stretched out and oxygenated.
Right. So I have to do the other side, otherwise I'll be walking in circles the rest of the day.
Balance. Yoga is about balance,
Exactly.
is it not?
It's manifesting the balance within the opposition. So this... Now,
Fabulous.
in this Ashtanga yoga, I think we have a few minutes, right? In this Ashtanga yoga system, it differentiates this from other systems, and not to say one is any better than the other. They're all this. It's a preference.
Right.
But we interject what is called the vinyasa that I showed earlier. So what this does is keeps us stretched out. It's like the Etch-a-Sketch.
Okay, we're out of time, Jim. So, but that's good. Hold that thought. Maybe not that position, but hold that thought.
All right.
We'll be right back.
Been doing yoga all morning.
I know.
Jim Cardinale has been here teaching us some moves. And if people want to take yoga classes, because there's so many people interested, what can they do? They find out how to get a hold of you, or?
Well, yes, they can get a hold of me and call 884-3616. And there are various studios. There's Yoga Now at Excellent Studio, Sadhana. It's on One Tab Road in 1600 block. I teach also at the World Gym, and
it's everywhere.
Yoga's everywhere.
And it seems to be for everybody.
Yeah, all ages.
There are all kinds of methods, not only this style. There are much easier methods as well.
Good.
Yeah.
Jim, we appreciate you in kind of broadening some horizons this morning and letting us in on some good stretches and some good stuff. Thanks for coming by this morning.
Thank you very much.
And we thank you for choosing to start your day with KRQE News 13 this morning. Caroline is back at noon with Kathy.